Welcome to a busted play. An illegal use of hands to the face short.
Okay, so you didn't disagree with me in the first thing we talked about, so that's a shame. So, I'm just going to need you to telepathically communicate with me here and make sure you don't pick the same thing here, okay? Today's question that I need you to answer is what team just has the best roster in the NFL?
All right, you get what I'm sending to you? You getting that?
No, I'm not getting it yet. Just tell me who you think it is, or slowly
All right,
explain.
you can not pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for this question. Just the defending Super Bowl champs, bringing back everyone, and that team looked solid towards the end of the season. The start of it, a little bumpy there. Brady was getting situated to the heat and everything, Northeastern guy, wasn't really used to it. But once they got rolling, man, they looked like world beaters. They just couldn't be stopped. That offense is going to take you to town, and if you have an offense that can go toe to toe with it, that defense is going to stop you. Like, you're not going to be able to score every drive against the Buccaneers because that linebacking core, that D line is just full of vets. The D line is, and the linebacking core. I mean, Devin White and those guys, well, led by Devin White and having guys like Levante David on it is just insane. And of course, having one of our favorite rookies last season in Antoine Winfield Jr. back there uh, at safety is just mwah. And like we said in our last topic we talked about, they have the most underrated player in the entire league on their team in Blaine Gabbert.
Yes. So I thought you would pick the Bucks. Okay.
Okay.
So I did start with that. When I think about these things that I want to come up with for things for us to talk about, I do try to think, who will he say, and how can I pick a topic where my answer will be out there and won't be the normal one. And my answer isn't the normal one because I think roster-wise, the Bucks have the second best roster in the NFL. I think they're second.
I know what team you're going to say.
I think they have the second best roster in the NFL because I think there are two teams in the league right now that you basically can look at and say that every position has a very solid player. There's one position on the Buccaneers that I can say is drastically behind the team I'm thinking of. And that's the running back position.
Oh.
That's the running back position. But I guess you could also argue the fullback position.
I know what team you're going to say.
Yes, you do. Because the Cleveland Browns have the best roster in the NFL. I cannot pick out a position on that team that I am not confident in. You want to talk about tight end depth. That's the position that seems like a strange place to start. That's where I love to start because it feels like right now in the NFL, if there's one position that so many teams have a hole at, it's that position. Their top two guys are Austin Hooper and David Njoku. I'm really confident in those two guys, so that's a great starting point. Offensive line, last season, the best offensive line in the league. With that being said, then you talk about guys in the backfield. I really think running backs are overrated in terms of what they can do, just because I think so much of it comes down to blocking. But if you watch Nick Chubb run, he gets the 5 yards that the offensive line initially gets him, and then he just makes guys look like they're children playing against him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to give Kareem Hunt as much credit as Nick Chubb, really even close. Kareem Hunt catches the ball well out of the backfield, and he gets what the offensive line gives him, but I think Nick Chubb is on a whole nother level. It's just great that Kareem Hunt is an awesome number 2 to have there. Then we talk about the quarterback. Coming out in that 2018 draft, correct? That's what year it was. Baker was my favorite guy, and Lamar was kind of the other guy I was interested in. And the other guys, none of them really piqued my interest too much, I will say that I disliked Darnold and Josh Rosen a lot, and Josh Allen was kind of just the middleman where I was like, I don't know how to feel about him. He wasn't too great, too bad. It's just that I wanted Baker Lamar a lot more. So that's how that went. And I have to say, after 2019, my confidence kind of wavered. But seeing how he played at the end of 2020 was also absolutely incredible. You want to look at the guys they have coming off the edge in the D-line, Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. I don't think if you want to talk about just freaks on the defensive line, it gets much better than that. They also drafted our favorite player in the draft in the second round in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is now going to be playing the linebacker position for them. They've got one of the best corners in the game in Denzel Ward, and they spent their first-round pick on the cornerback from Northwestern, Newsome. And he's good, too. And they're getting a ton of guys back from injury in the secondary. Greedy Williams, the kid from LSU that plays safety, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name, but he's coming back. I think he's from LSU. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting at this moment. But he's going to be one safety at least, and the other safety is going to be one of the other most underrated players in the league, John Johnson III. We love him. He's absolutely amazing. There is not a hole on this roster, and I would say the Bucs don't have a hole on their roster either, but the running back position is a significant upgrade for the Browns. So I would say that the Cleveland Browns have the best roster in the NFL. Now, the thing is, you still got to coach it and actually go out and win games with it. But I think roster-wise, they do have the best roster in the NFL.
The Bucks and the Browns kind of take a different approach for running back. Bruce Arians, you can just kind of tell he doesn't care about running the ball. I mean, a guy with an offense of no risk it, no biscuit, he's not going to care about running the ball. He wants to air it out. So he's going with the approach of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So they brought in a decent amount of running backs this offseason, I believe. I know they got Gio Bernard, so he's finally going to have a chance to actually compete for a ring, which is awesome. He needs it. Leonard Fournette still hasn't signed with a team, I believe. So I do agree that Cleveland's running back spot or position is just way more stacked, and fullback too, because I can't even tell you who the fullback on the Bucs is. That's how lousy that position is. Yeah, Vita Vea. So actually, who wins in a fist fight, Janovich or Vita Vea?
Yeah. No, I think the one way you could beat me here is I'm going for really like the starters on the Browns overall are just slightly better than the starters on the Bucs. I think if you go from a depth perspective, you definitely could like look at the depth on the D line, the linebacker position, the wide receiving core, and be like, the depth on the Bucs is so much better. I'm just saying, I'm going straight from the standpoint of like, if we played like a really, as I guess normal of a football game as we could, where there's a world where no injuries occur, and it's just everybody's best players on the field at all times, I would take the Browns. But I do have to say that that's not necessarily always going to be the case, and almost guaranteed to not be the case. So, but I think I would be very excited to see Browns Bucks in the Super Bowl this year.
Oh yeah.
But do I think it's going to happen? I actually don't. I don't know if I would pick either of those teams to go to the Super Bowl this year. I really don't think. I don't think I would at this time, which is kind of interesting.
I'm hesitant for picking anyone in the AFC because AFC is just going to be a gauntlet to get to the Super Bowl. I think whatever team comes out of the AFC is going to be bruised and battered by the time they get there. The NFC, it's a little bit more top heavy. There's a few teams that could come out there, but it's not going to be as much of a brawl every single playoff game.
I don't think it will. The one thing I'll say here is that I think the AFC, we clearly know who the top dogs are. I think from our perspective, with what we know, we realize that there's going to be a lot of teams that weren't so hot last year that are going to be really good in the NFC, and it's just going to be like the changing of the guard almost. Like,
Mm-hmm.
since they weren't there before, we're making the assumption that they're not going to be that good. But let me tell you, the Bears by the end of the season, the Niners by the end
Oh
of
yeah.
the season, the Rams by the end of the season, the Washington football team by the end of the season. They're obviously from the start of the year, you're looking at all these teams and it's like the Rams were the only one in that list that I said that really necessarily did much last season. But by the end of the season, I think all of those teams are going to be very scary. It's just the difference is now that we feel like we know who the Kings are going to be in the AFC, while in the NFC we kind of have to watch it develop. But I still feel like we have a pretty good idea of who's going to develop well over the course of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. A team that we didn't mention though,
The
and
Vikings.
I really wish we could have gotten Robert Woods here for this little short here because the Rams are just stacked.
Not that much. Not to that level. They are top heavy. They're
Well,
top heavy.
with Jalen Ramsey now tweeting out that he wants to recruit every single corner that is holding out because the Rams just have unlimited money to hand out at this point.
Yeah, don't tell him about the salary cap. He'll be very
No,
disappointed.
yeah, that's really gonna rock his world when I tell him, hey, teams only have a certain amount of money that they can pay guys.
Yeah. All right. You all set?
Yeah, I think we cut it here.